Welcome, everyone, to the IndyReds podcast. I'm your host, Joe Dilling. With me over Zoom tonight, we're just doing audio on the podcast, but I'm looking right at Jim Dimitri. I'm sorry, it says James Dimitri in his name, and Bryan Smith. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Hey, Joe. How are you?
Good evening. Good evening.
It's hot in the closet.
Sweating in the closet.
Too hot in the closet. Okay. Podcasting closet. Yes. All right. So tonight we really don't have too much to talk about because let's face it, Liverpool's not playing. But we were like, hey, we're gonna have a Zoom call. Why don't we just record it and we'll see, put it out as a podcast. So yeah, we'll probably talk a little bit about Bundesliga's back, maybe some implications of how that might work then for the English Premier League, as well as, just anything else that we really want to talk about. And we're definitely going to have plugs and non-plugs. Bryan, I know you have a big plug to put out there, so I can't wait to hear it.
I do?
Yeah, something that happened yesterday.
Did some laundry. I'm drinking a beer that you
Yesterday.
gave me, so plug
Yesterday, not today.
Yesterday.
Today you did the laundry, you said. All right, anyway, we'll just go ahead and jump right in. If you've somehow not been on social media or kind of completely fallen off the face of the earth, which is actually kind of where I've been lately, the Bundesliga is back, playing behind closed doors. They're going to get their season finished. I personally didn't watch anything more than highlights, and I saw the Dortmund shellacking of Schalke, and I saw the highlights for Red Bull Leipzig pulling out the draw against Freiburg. But how much did you guys watch? Like, this is open, but I mean, did you watch a full match? Did you just catch highlights? What were you guys thinking or watching, I guess?
Bryan, do you want to go ahead? Or
Sure. Well, I mean, there were some two matches on yesterday morning, Dortmund and Schalke in the morning. And Leipzig played, I think, not long after them or perhaps at the same time. So I got up and had a kind of important family day yesterday, but I wanted to turn the game on, and Dortmund was just all over them.
They were
just absolutely shredded them.
Schalke looked horrible.
But I found it to be strange. I mean, I found myself missing kind of ambient crowd noise and crowd reactions and maybe announcers feeding off of crowd reactions much more than I thought I would miss. And I really had to think about it for a day to kind of arrive at that. It surprised me that they felt like preseason friendlies in both atmosphere and everything, other than there was 3 points on the line.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit in play. And I don't know that much about these teams to, a lot of our listeners and some of the folks we hang out with at Jack are also, Dortmund fans. And, we know some folks from Germany and visit there all the time. Joe, I know you've been there a few times. The play was a little bit, I don't know. I wasn't, analyzing formations or didn't know all the players, et cetera. But yeah, Dortmund hammered them. And I switched over to Leipzig for like 10 minutes, and that game wasn't terribly interesting either. And then I just got on with the rest of my day. So it was fun to have it on, but I found myself not completely like drawn in and just jumping up and down that there was a live match that meant something on my screen again. So I was, I think, a little bit disappointed in myself that that's how it ended up for me.
Jim, did you just do highlights? You watch full match? Where were you at on this?
So yesterday, I did catch most of the first half of the Dortmund Schalke match. I don't remember what the later game was that was on Fox Sports 1. So at this point, as far as my viewing options are concerned, I have Sling, so I can get Fox Sports 1, and then if I want to get Fox Sports 2, I have to chip in an extra $10 a month, which I made to get Fox Sports 2, which I may do until the Bundesliga season is over, just because I want to be able to watch some soccer. And then today I saw most of the first half of FC Köln and Mainz. And then
I watched that whole game. But yeah, go ahead. That's the one I watched the most of.
That match was interesting. I mean, it wasn't a pretty match. I didn't think either team was really engaging to watch, but as Bryan pointed out, part of that might have been just because they're shaking off the rust, and not having fans in the stadium is a bit bizarre. I would imagine that if you're a player, you are not as energized if you're in that situation. But the FC Cologne supporters did this thing where they took their jerseys, and for a particular section of the stands, they put the shirts over the seats, and it was really cool. It was kind of like a tifo sort of thing.
That
So
was
I thought
cool.
that was kind of neat. And I don't know if you guys know this, but Cologne is Indianapolis' sister city. So one of the reasons I watched the match is because I'm like, okay, if I'm going to watch the Bundesliga, I kind of want to do some research here and figure out, is there a team that I want to regularly watch? So Cologne is one of those candidates. And so I thought that was kind of cool. I'm like, that's kind of a neat thing for the supporters to do. And then I watched the entire Union Berlin Bayern match, which, Bayern was all over Union Berlin. I don't know have you guys read or heard about the whole Union Berlin story, that this is their first season in the Bundesliga?
No, go for it. Tell us about it.
Yeah, a little bit. Their stadium or their ground it reminds me a lot of Bournemouth. It's like a single tier.
It is.
It's small. You could tell with these empty seats, there's a lot of standing areas and tiers and metal bars to kind of separate the supporters a little bit. Which
there are only about 4,000 seats in that stadium, and that's out of 22,000 person capacity. So most of it's terracing.
Yeah, it looks smaller than that. 22. We can fit a lot of people on a terrace, so yeah, that makes sense.
But Union Berlin's sort of a cult club. They're kind of like FC St. Pauli. I don't know if you know much about them either. I mean, they're sort of one of those clubs that the hipsters like to support, and Union Berlin's that type of club. Well, I mean, part of it is they've got a working class sort of vibe going on. That's kind of their standard.
I get it.
Yeah, their historical supporters group is more blue collar. They're a club that's been shaky financially throughout part of their history. I mean, they're the only. So when Berlin was separated by the Berlin Wall, they were in East Berlin. They played when before reunification in Germany. They played in the East German League, which I don't remember what it was called. But they've never been a super successful club. Neither big Berlin club. I don't know if you want to call Union a big club in Berlin, but they're along with Hertha Berlin, the two clubs in Berlin that had the most supporters. But anyway, this is their first season in the Bundesliga. They gained promotion by beating, I think, Stuttgart in the promotion playoffs to get into the Bundesliga, and they're kind of hanging in there. I think they're 14th right now, 12th or 14th, somewhere in that range.
That sounds about right. I know they're head of Mainz, who
yes,
did draw 2-2 this morning with Cologne, and that was a big point for Mainz.
Yes.
I enjoyed that match. I found Mainz and Cologne, both clubs, having three players forward, almost like a front three at times, which kind of helped to get to 2-2, I guess. But yeah, Union Berlin's a good story, and I don't know much about them as a club. I do know they're kind of a working class thing, but it's hard for anybody to beat Bayern right now.
So
I don't care if you've been training for 2 days or for 2 years or what, but
they hung in the match for as long as they could. I mean,
they did.
A lot of it was they were parking the bus. They were playing a lot of long balls.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where people were talking about that club, and as I said, I'm thinking about what Bundesliga club I potentially want to follow. And part of me it's like, well, I'm a hipster. I'm a self-admitted hipster, so Union Berlin is it would seem like a good fit. But at the same time, I think, do I want to support a club that's maybe going to be up for a season or two and then get sent back down and then have to hunt on illegal online feeds to find out how to watch to Bundesliga. So
follow a text-based minute-by-minute update you find
yes.
somewhere.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're the Everton of the Bundesliga, maybe. Not the hipster part, but just the kind of, I don't know, downtrodden, never win anything, bigger clubs, 10 feet away from them that do much better and are much better, more supported, and old stadium falling apart kind of thing. So,
well, what's really interesting about the stadium is that so at one point they were like in the 5th tier of German soccer, and then they had to have the facilities to qualify for tier 4. So the fans, the stadium was crumbling, so the fans apparently pitched in and helped rebuild the stadium. And part of how they funded that is they went and gave blood, and they took the money that they earned from giving blood and put that toward financing the stadium rebuild. Now, that's Wikipedia, so
hey,
as far as you want to trust Wikipedia,
Wimbledon can learn something from that, right? They're trying to build a new stadium back closer to Wimbledon.
But it's an interesting story. So if you like that sort of club, that might be your club. I don't know yet. I haven't decided. I mean, I like to take my time and let these things work themselves out.
Yeah. I've seen you give some people some advice about the club picks you just as much as you pick the club, if not more so, which I think is good advice. I mean, when I was a kid, I liked Borussia Mönchengladbach when I was 7, 8, 9, and really starting to play a lot, spring season, summer and fall travel, and then CYO season, then indoor. We all picked teams because we could watch them on Soccer Made in Germany. I thought Borussia Mönchengladbach was a cool name, and I did pick them like for that reason when I was little. But the Cologne, FC Cologne is interesting, and I like the way they played this morning. So nice kit and the cool badge and all kinds of stuff. So you never know.
I was a big fan of Munich there for a while, like after Liverpool, just because that 2002 World Cup, I loved Schweinsteiger. There was just it was the name rolled off your tongue, and
Pig Farmer,
Pig Climber is what my sister told me. Yeah, Pig Climber. So
I thought it was Pig Eater.
Oh well, that's everybody. Well, in Germany for the most part.
Yes.
Anyway, so just some matches. Were there any overall impressions? I mean, yes, Dortmund looked really good. Bayern looked really good, but I mean, do you think that maybe part of it was that the teams have lost their momentum? Schalke looked very poor. Their keeper was, I mean, some of the 4 goals that they scored. I mean,
How do you say Jordan Pickford in German?
Jurgen.
Well, I'll tell you. Let me look it up. Let me look up what Schalke's
Jordan might translate to Jurgen. I don't know how you would say Pickford. You might just reverse it. For Pickers.
Are you doing Google Translator, Joe?
No, I'm doing it's Alexander
he's
Nubel.
calling a family member in Germany is what he's doing, listeners. I can verify that because I can see him doing it.
Alexander Nubel. It's like saying Jordan Pickford. No, but in all honesty, I don't think he got a lot of help though either. I mean, there was one goal. I think it might have been Thorgan Hazard's goal where they're going on a fast break, and Weston McKennie, I mean, we've talked numerous times about how we think he'd be a great player for Liverpool, maybe even like that box to box player when Jordan Henderson's ready to move on, if he's ever ready to move on, but I mean retire or whatever, because he can play defensively and all that stuff. He just gets schooled. I mean, completely schooled, and didn't look good in that. So I didn't know about how he looked in the rest of the match because I only saw highlights. But Bryan informed me, what is he? He's 6'1". He needs a haircut.
Well, that was
he had
me
a few
being
other
silly.
things.
Didn't watch the match, and you asked kind of on social media, how did Weston McKinney look? I didn't watch a lot of the match either, so I replied that he was 6'1", he's young, needs a haircut, and was wearing Adidas boots. I think he was wearing Adidas boots.
I mean, most people in Germany do it.
So that's how I know. That's what he looked like that day. That's all I really know.
Anything else from what you guys saw? I mean, I just thought Schalke looked really sloppy. Not to at all diminish what Dortmund did. Erling Haaland had a great game. Again, Thorgan Hazard had. I saw some tweets going around, and I don't think they were from the official club, but I think he scored an assist more than his brother has in La Liga this year.
You gotta distinguish yourself somehow when your brother's Eden Hazard. So, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
have assists. No, I think the only other thing I would note is that John Brooks, who play a U.S. international, John Brooks, who plays for Wolfsburg, scored an own goal today and
nice.
had another goal not been called back for offside. He would have been burned on that goal that was invalidated.
So maybe that's just kind of a running theme. Everybody was sloppy. I mean, we talked about Timo Werner not looking the best. He did, but I texted you guys about it. I'm watching the highlights. He got loose on the side. I mean, he wasn't going full speed or anything, but he creates a space and rockets one from kind of the corner of the box, like the out box, like the 18-yard box. I probably said that wrong, but anyway, the 18-yard box, and it bounces off. I mean, heck, if that was Salah or Bobby or Mo, they convert, but the Leipzig player just completely fumbled it.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been 1-0 Leipzig, 1-1 at that time, because Freiburg got a very early goal off of a set piece, and everyone was just shocked. I mean, the fans weren't because they weren't there, but you just see all the players just go around shaking their heads.
What I found annoying is, so this is the first. That was I only watched the highlights of that match, and so I'd never. Trying to think, I don't think I'd ever seen the inside of Leipzig Stadium, but I was annoyed by the big mural that runs the perimeter of the stands. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Is it a big Red Bull?
Yeah, it's got Red Bulls all over it. It's just like, hey, I don't know.
I mean, when your club sponsor is Red Bull, and every team that they've purchased is Red Bull. I mean, New York Metro Stars are now Red Bull in New York. Salzburg. Well, of course, they created Red Bull Leipzig, but they started from nowhere. But yeah, I mean, that's what it is. What it is. I mean, it's kind of funny because this is the second club that in Germany has come out of nowhere because of rich owners. You could say the same thing about Hoffenheim. Hoffenheim's owner is the creator of SAP. He has more money than he can shake a stick at. And so what's he do? He invests a whole bunch of money in his favorite club from when he was a boy in Hoffenheim. And because of that, Stuttgart, I mean, Hoffenheim's right next to Stuttgart. And I don't know if they sell out at all. But they have this huge, nice stadium with SAP on the side.
So you're saying they're like Manchester City in its infancy?
Possibly.
Maybe not quite that much money, but
yeah,
maybe about what Newcastle might become if the sale goes through from, I guess, some Middle East somewhere.
The Saudi royal family, basically.
They're going to be the richest club. I think they have more money.
That might be more money than this SAP fella. So.
Yeah, but speaking from my inventory nature, SAP is the inventory program that everybody uses. for the most part, except my company. Anyway, never mind. Never mind that. So, Bryan, did you, from what you've seen, does it look like the guys are a little rusty, a little sloppy in the Bundesliga?
A lot of people were saying that. I didn't really see much of it, but the match that I didn't see much sloppiness really. I know the Schalke keeper made it look bad. I just think Dortmund were good, but I wasn't watching the matches necessarily, digging in real deep and noticing a formation change right away like I would, or relatively quickly, maybe not right away, like I would for a Liverpool match or another Premier League match that I was had on. But it's kind of hard to say. I'm sure there was some rustiness there. I'm sure even if they just had an off day, they can kind of chalk it up to not playing a competitive match in a long time, and that's fine. I've read a little bit about the training in I believe in Germany. I think it's happening in England as well. They're either not doing any tackling at all, just to avoid not necessarily contact, but I think just kind of start slowly and things like that. So I think defenses are going to be rusty. Skilled players are going to exploit that, and good teams are going to beat bad teams. That's one of the reasons why the Cologne and see now the team escapes me already. The 2-2 match.
Mainz.
Thank you. That's one of the reasons why that game interested me so much, I guess, because it was the only one that was really close. 2-0 lead, and they came back and drew 2-2. So, but to answer your question, yeah, I'm sure there's some rustiness there. I don't watch a ton of Bundesliga to be able to point out, a big different tactical change that I saw or anything like that. But I'm sure there was some there. What was it? Obvious?
Yeah. So let's move on a little bit. So I'm listening to Anfield Rap Weekender today. It sounds like they're very convinced that now that Germany has done this, the roadmap is set. They're going to that England will eventually be restarting the season, and it's going to happen. Whether Watford, Villa, and and Brighton like it or not, or whatever the other teams as well. It's going to happen. It's going to happen at some point. They're going to finish the season, and there's a roadmap for it to be done. Whether that's at neutral grounds or not is neither here nor there. It's going to happen, and I'm personally excited about it. And if they do have this like no tackling kind of thing, first of all, I don't see how that's any different than being in the mix of a scrum in for a free kick of any kind, corner or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for it to come back, but if they can't tackle or whatever, then that's just gonna play into our hands, and we're gonna score a bunch of goals, and we'll just be done after 2 matches, and we'll be on cruise control. What are you guys thinking? I mean, do you think that maybe this is shining hope, or is this more of a, well, this is how we don't want it to be done? I think I know where you're going with it, but I mean, I'm just coming up with topics.
I think it's, to a certain extent, apples and oranges comparison, because of European countries, Germany has done a pretty admirable job of handling handling COVID. So I think they were a bit better placed to take steps to restart the league. The UK, as we know, has a guy who's prime minister who and a government that's not as exactly as regimented as what Germany has done. So, and I think the other thing to keep in mind is the Bundesliga chairman said, basically this is, I don't, this is not exactly the words that he used, but it's a probationary period. If there's another outbreak, they're gonna stop play again. But I think, given that this is really the only model that we have for how a league might be able to proceed, that you probably would see something similar in the Premier League. As you pointed out, I mean, who knows at this point whether it would be neutral venues or in the actual stadiums. We'll just have to wait and see.
I just noted your name changed, by the way, Jim. Bryan, what are you thinking about coming back to play Premier League football? As you take a swig of your beer, it's weird. I can actually see you now.
Jim?
Unlucky.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be distracting. I just, Zoom gets a bit static after a while, and I have to have fun with it.
Yeah, it does. Jim made a good point about how Germany's handled things. I'm not surprised they're the first really big league to make it back. I've been tracking some numbers really for work, cases and new cases, things like that, both locally and statewide. And I see some things, in other countries. And in UK hasn't handled it nearly as well as a lot of countries over there. And of course, neither is the U.S., but that's another podcast altogether. It's about 800 different podcasts. But this tackling thing, that's obviously just in training. Maybe I didn't say that, and I don't want Joel Matip flying into Mo Salah and Sadio Mane right now. I want Van Dijk and Gomez and Trent and Robbo practicing their tackling on the U23s or something like that if they need to practice it at all, or maybe a member of the training staff. So it's I don't know if it's going to be that big of a deal coming back. This league win is inevitable. There's 9 matches left, and for us to not win this league, we'd have to lose probably 8 of those 9, or at least 7 of those 9, and a couple draws. We've only lost 2 league matches in 2 years. So this, just get back on the field, and mathematically this is going to be done quickly, and that'll be great. And we all want that to happen, obviously. I'll make one disagree a point here with Jim. I think if Germany would have to have a big outbreak, I think, to stop this, or maybe not on par with the initial outbreaks that a lot of countries went through, or maybe 5 players on a team, test positive or something like that. That would equal a big outbreak, I think, of course. But, if a city increases by, 5% one day or 10 or 15% in over a week or 2 week span or something like that, then I think these leagues kind of soldier on. Which brings up the neutral venue thing is an interesting point. This whole players go away kind of quarantine World Cup style, staying together, traveling together, and, aren't going to, Liverpool won't be playing 4 games at Anfield and 5 games in 5 different stadiums. They would play, their 9 games, maybe in 2 locations. That to me makes more sense than, traveling around, but it takes more than just, the 11 players plus the subs and a 10-person coaching and medical staff to pull this off. So that's going to be interesting. And then there's the financial part of this. I read some stuff today that maybe we can get to, but I didn't want to skip over Joe's thoughts on returning and the Premier League itself and a couple of things that Jim and I brought up. What do you got for us, Joe?
Yeah, I think I think that it kind of gives an idea of that, yes, this can be done, whether it is at neutral venues or whether it is at wherever, or they're playing behind closed doors at their home stadiums. That's fine. But the one thing that I do think is that it needs to be back. Troy Deeney, they had a great point on the Anfield wrap. I mean, Troy Deeney says, the grocery store workers they're going to earn their pay. Okay, but you earn your pay so that you can go to the grocery store. You got to have that whole thing. You're not really an essential employee. That's right. But, you're getting paid a lot of money. I hate to say it. These guys are getting paid a lot of money, and they need to. I'd like for them to furlough the players. I hate to say it, but I mean, I don't know if they can with the contracts, and then that'd look real bad because what then if they furlough the players, is that like terminating their contract, and then they can all of a sudden go sign for whomever they want. I mean, if you're reluctant to get back in, I get it being scary, but for the person that's packaging up my groceries, it's scary for them too. I don't know. I'm ready for it to come back. I'm ready for it to rock and roll. I'm ready for Liverpool to win the league, first time in 30 years, and let's just move on to the next thing. We're working on a vaccine. I mean, there's a vaccine coming, but that's what I really think. I really think it's before fans can go back to stadiums, and wherever you stand on the whole thing, maybe schools opening again too. We should have a vaccine a lot closer than what we do right now. So that's neither here nor there, I guess. But I just want to see this season wrap up and get finished so we can start the next one and we can sign Timo Werner, right?
I thought you said Leroy Sané.
That's what I was reading somewhere from KFC guy.
And Philippe Coutinho.
Forget Philippe Coutinho. However,
Coutinho.
Hot take. You heard it here first. Linda Pizzuti was yesterday watching the Dortmund Schalke game. I think that pretty much confirmed that Jadon Sancho is coming to Liverpool this summer.
Wait, what?
Was
she tweeting that she was watching the game?
She had a picture of her screen. Yeah, she had a picture of her TV screen, and it had the Dortmund Schalke match on. And I'm like, oh, that confirms it. Jadon Sancho's coming to Liverpool.
This sounds like the whole Virgil van Dijk was seen in a minivan and on Merseyside.
Oh yeah, I'm so grasping at straws, but I mean it's still fun. It's fun, right, Jim?
Sometimes it's fun.
Well, fun is one adjective to use. Yeah.
I mean, it's more like the Sign Royce. I mean, how many times do they freaking say Sign Royce people to her and John Henry? And we never did, but John Henry had alluded to it at one point in time.
Well, I'm sure you remember when we were after Van Dijk to begin with, and basically got told to knock it off and slapped on the wrist and had to issue a public apology that, sorry, we shouldn't have called him and told him how great his hair was. We apologize. And then, obviously he signed him not long after that, or maybe 4 months later, whatever the heck it was. So, if Linda Pizzuti issues a, sorry, I should not have posted, that picture of me watching the Dortmund match. I like to watch any match of a high quality and like to apologize to every person in the universe and all soccer loving beings across the galaxy that I did that. Now you're on to something, Joe.
Oh, yeah, exactly. This was so fake that I came up with that. I mean, I remember that. Excuse me. My intentions were completely, hey, let's just be silly and laugh at this. Because that there's going to be some idiot out there who's saying, oh, this is true, I believe it. So, I mean, that's what I'm getting at,
Here's what I want to know. Was Linda Pizzuti was she Zooming with Kylian Mbappe as he trained in the league off season?
Ooh, interesting. No. Not that I know.
Damn it.
Not that I know. Now, would I like to have a Zoom call with Linda Pizzuti? Yes.
Well, what we should do here is,
I would love to have her as a guest on the Indie Reds podcast. What are you thinking, Jim? Come on.
We're missing an opportunity here because all three of us have terrific wives that could just jump onto the microphone right here.
Nah,
we could say, Linda's joined us.
Yeah, mine was just making faces at you guys earlier. So.
Yep, she was. Better than fart noises other times, right, Jim?
Yes. As she has been known to do too.
So let me go to my financial story if you would like. Premier League. So I was listening to the wonderful Chris Pajak from
Redmond.
From Redmond, yeah, from Redmond. He has one with Paul Machin now. He's got like 4 or 5 of them, and he's been on this show. A great interview with Joe, I think, last year or maybe
it was a year ago.
About a year ago.
Over a year ago. But yeah.
Yeah, great guy. he had a pod I listened to today talking about the companies that hold the TV rights to the Premier League matches, which I think primarily is Sky Sports, if not some other conglomerates.
I think BT has a little bit too. Yeah.
Yeah, we might be talking about just the British television rights, or maybe just Western Europe. I don't know, but he's talking about how those companies, or that company, is mad that the games aren't being broadcast, and even if they are played behind closed doors eventually and broadcast eventually in some method, they're not being broadcast as they were originally intended, and they are going to seek damages from the league, even if they do a Germany style return and watch matches like we did in the Bundesliga this morning. How this company, he mentioned Sky, he did mention BT as well, so you're probably right, Joe. It's probably a combination. They're talking about some type of damage that this company is going to claim because the matches are not being played as they were originally scheduled, intended, broadcasts, dates, times, whatever. I don't know. And they're legitimately teams like, they specifically mentioned Burnley and Bournemouth and those types of clubs that couldn't absorb that financial hit to either give back their TV money that they were, now happy that they're going to receive as the league resumes and hopefully reaches a conclusion. That's kind of scary stuff. I mean, we'll have a cup to shout about, and new shirts to buy and scarves to buy and all kinds of things to celebrate, but it's not all sunshine and roses even if we come back to this league, kind of German style behind closed doors and play it out. That's a little worrisome.
It is. But hey, I mean, maybe you're not seeing NBC on there, which is really interesting because they've got the contract to NBC Sports with IndyCar, and Fox has the contract with the other racing, NASCAR. So here in the States, and they're not racing, except I am looking up right now, and
NASCAR raced today.
They did race today. Yep. And
yeah, I actually had that on the television. Emily and Jen got back from South Bend today, and the NASCAR race was on, and she looked at me like, "Who are you, and where's my husband?" Like, NASCAR. I wasn't really watching.
Surprised you weren't watching marble racing.
But
I don't know if there was any marble racing. Maybe there was.
There wasn't this week. No.
We'll see.
No Marbula E.
I really wasn't watching the NASCAR race. It was just on. But
they're going to get the races in, man. An IndyCar. I mean, Detroit's been canceled, but they're looking at starting up June 6th, Texas Motor Speedway. That's a big
NASCAR laid out their rules that actually flashed it up on the screen. Each team, I think, was limited to, gosh, I might get this wrong, 16 people, 18 people, something like that. Might have been low 20s. Drivers were in RVs completely alone, all by themselves. Nobody else allowed inside the RV. They kept showing aerial shots of the empty stands and the empty parking lots. And anyone's ever been to a race, and us with the Indy 500 here in town is the biggest race in the world.
August 23rd.
All the parking lots were empty. No, not just the seats, but for acres and miles and miles and miles around the track. No cars, no nothing. I mean, very limited TV cameras kind of thing. 4 or 5 TV angles, and that was it. Soccer is going to do the same thing. IndyCar racing is going to do the same thing. PGA Tour is talking about starting back up again.
All things that you can play without fans, but you're not seeing it with NBA. Their NFL, they're talking about not having next season. I mean, some people are talking about that. College athletics. I mean, you're seeing some of that too. I was just watching CBS Sunday morning is a big hit at our house, and University of Wisconsin's chancellor was talking today about how they're not sure if they're going to be able to start up online, or start up in the fall. Contrary to what a lot of public officials are saying right now. I mean, Jim's got a little bit better insight than we do, but
well, actually, not really, because
Jim, if the path of this virus, a number of cases, and if it continues on the path that it is now, which is appearing to hold steady at some places, minor upticks, and then some, holding steady, some improvements and things like that. If that continues, then we'll see NFL behind closed doors in the fall and college sports, etc. So that is a big if things continue the way they have been. But go ahead, Jim.
Well, the way that IU is approaching things right now is, it's really, unfortunately, too soon to say what's going to happen because of all the unknowns. So IU's really looking at two scenarios primarily. One is going back to totally in-person meetings with accommodations for certain people, which I don't think is going to happen. And then scenario two is some kind of hybrid of in-person and online meetings. I'm not even sure that's going to happen.
Meetings
I don't know if
being classes, Jim, or being
yeah.
Okay.
Well, meetings just being classes. So my understanding, and again, this isn't even crystal clear, would be some of the classes would be in person, some would be online. Any one-on-one meetings that students would normally have with faculty would be online. But I'm not even sure that's going to happen. I don't know if you saw, but the whole Cal State University system is going to be totally online this fall. They've already announced that. And part of it is because they have 500,000 students in their system. Yeah. That's far larger than what IU has. But if I were to predict, I think at least part of instruction is going to be online. What that means for college athletics is probably, well, I don't know. I don't know what it means. It certainly would mean that there wouldn't be any fans in the stadiums. Yeah. I can't see that happening.
I think we need to get a vaccine first, and then then it'll be a little bit better. But anyway, this is not everybody's opinion on
not the COVID podcast.
Not the COVID podcast. There's plenty of other ones.
I got test results back today. We did talk about it.
So Bryan, negative?
Yes, negative.
All right. I am looking.
And those of you that know me, I'm compelled to say I didn't go take the test for any particular reason or for any particular symptoms or anything I was feeling. I took it because it was offered to me by my employer and it was no cost to me, and that was a good thing. And then a few of my colleagues were giving me some crap for not having it done yet. So I went and had one done last week and got a message from my boss about 2 hours before recording that it came back negative. So that's good to say. It's not nearly as bad as everyone said it was going to be. I mean, yeah, it's a very long Q-tip.
Yeah,
but it wasn't. I didn't find it to be that bad. So.
I am curious. I am probably going to look out to get an antibody test, especially with our travels in Italy, and then everything closing down right after we left.
I'm on the list for that too. Now that now that I tested negative and have been in contact with some people due to work. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm really curious if I was a carrier. Because I don't know if I told you guys that. No, I'm not going to go there. But some people on the ship were feeling very ill. Yeah. So
I'm sure. So, I mean, you weren't on like a 10-person boat. I mean, you were on a ship.
Yeah, we were on a ship. So I mean, it's really interesting. We were just watching some videos today of what Disney's doing to reopen Shanghai Disneyland, and a lot of speculation on what's going on with cruise ships and reopening their parks. So it's speculation right now, but I mean, you know that you want to that they want to get back to that. I mean, we want to get back to everyone being happy again, and that's what we get with amusement parks. But once again, do we need to wait till we have a vaccine at least closer?
Just wait till Liverpool gets 2 more wins, and then we'll be happy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. So, guys, we haven't really podcasted much lately. Is there anything that you guys just want to bring up about life in general? I'm going to pass because most of my life just been, in the house and confidential work. So I can't talk about it. So Jim, anything you just want to chat about?
I'll just say this. This is the perfect recipe for A, drinking more often, and B, gaining weight, and C, not that I, am somebody who has to worry about getting to maximum density, but
I'm already there.
and then C, it's a recipe for a search for TV shows and movies that are worth watching.
All right, so what's been on? What have you been watching? Let's turn this discussion to what have you been occupying your time, your non-work time with, besides relations with your wife, during this COVID outbreak.
You sound like Borat.
You
You have relations with your wife, my wife.
What do you want me to say, Jim? Besides boning your wife, I mean, go on.
I think he might say that for. I think he might say that for plugs.
Yeah.
No,
Jim,
you are usually all over great new music or hidden gems or unearthing things from the past that are just cool as hell. But take us down your path of movies, television, series. But what have you been playing lately other than your fiddle?
So let me think here. Well, I will plug a TV series that I am absolutely in love with, and that's What We Do in the Shadows on FX. So the premise of the show is it's based on a movie that Taika Waititi, who directed Thor Ragnarok. I don't know if you guys have seen that wonderful Marvel movie. Probably the best Thor movie there is.
I liked the first one a lot, so I'll need to make sure
I didn't know that there was more than one.
Oh yeah, there are 3 Thor movies. Just skip the second one; it's crap.
Thor?
Yeah, I wasn't impressed.
Yeah, but Thor Ragnarok's really good. Taika Waititi is this New Zealand guy from New Zealand. He's a director. He's known for doing kind of comic stuff. He actually directed, I think, at least one episode of The Mandalorian. He did the voice of IG-11, which is the bounty hunter droid on The Mandalorian.
Okay, yeah, I've heard his name.
He and Jermaine Clement, who is also from New Zealand. Jermaine Clement,
Flight of the Conchords,
one of the dudes responsible for Flight of the Conchords. So they made this movie called What We Do in the Shadows, and the premise is it's a documentary about this group of vampires. And it sounds absolutely, I'm like, why would I want to watch but it's a mockumentary, so it's funny. And they ended up spinning it off onto this TV show, and it is one of the funniest things I have ever seen on television. It's brilliant. I mean, I put The Office as like my sort of the benchmark for the funniest TV comedies of all time. And What We Do in the Shadows is up there. It's that funny. It's just freaking just absurd and farcical, and it's hilarious. So it's in season 2 right now, and it's on Hulu. So if you have Hulu, you can get it there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you where do you get it at. So Hulu, all right.
Yeah, it's on Hulu. So if you're like me and you have a Spotify subscription, you get Hulu with the ads, or you get thrown in Hulu with the ads thrown in there.
That's nice.
So that's what I've been watching it on. The other FX show I would say that's on Hulu that's good is Devs. It's a much more cerebral kind of mindfuck show, pardon my French. It's about this software company in Silicon Valley that's doing some really outlandish and weird things, and that's where I'll leave that. And then movie wise, I've been delving back into some older movies, so like movie geek movies. So Akira Kurosawa, who was a Japanese director who directed all these samurai films that George Lucas was really influenced by. I've been going back and watching some of those movies. So I watched Seven Samurai is probably his most famous film, which I don't know if you've ever seen The Magnificent Seven. It's a Western.
Maybe bits and pieces.
Yeah,
I know the
it's
samurai thing influenced the kind of lightsaber style and
yeah.
battles.
I mean, it's a Jedi Knight kind of thing.
Mhm.
And then doing playlists on Spotify, and that's and playing Dungeons and Dragons. That's been the extent of my
And family Zoom
coronavirus
calls.
distraction. And family Zoom calls every Tuesday night. Yeah. So,
Brian, what about you, man? What have you been doing to occupy your time?
That I didn't know you were going to ask this question, and I'm really kind of glad that you did. I knew Jim was doing a lot of that, but it was fun to hear some other things as well. So, kudos to you for asking it, and I can't wait to hear what you're going to say. So, our situation's been probably unique. I mean, I'm still working an awful lot. My wife is in the mortgage business, and she's working more than she normally does. So we haven't had any hardships as far as that goes, and I know that's rare compared to lots of other people. And our oldest boy, who's moved out recently, is still working as much as he normally did. And the kids did well with online school. So as far as that goes, incredibly lucky and blessed and all the above that was our situation. So, but like anybody else, I had some times that weren't fun, or some afternoons that just sucked, or some work stress that was harder to deal with more than others. And you can't solve it all with beer and pizza, as Jim mentioned, and I've tried.
you can't. I've tried too.
But so what I'll say this. I haven't had a whole lot of really tough situations like some other people have had. So I've been able to handle my moments just with family or music. Some Jim's playlists are great, and Zach Shorter's got some crazy cool electronic stuff that I really haven't ever dug into. I listened to some of that, or I'll just go pull up a concert on YouTube or something and just listen to it. Or I mean, this morning I played 2 ancient Speed Racer episodes. Just watched them.
Where'd you find those? On YouTube?
Yeah, like every Speed Racer episode ever is on YouTube. I used to watch that a ton when I was a kid.
I love Speed Racer.
Oh, me too. I mean, I could cite the lyrics to the theme song and probably sing it for you right now, but
it's not that hard. Isn't it just like go Speed Racer, go Speed Racer?
Well, the crazy thing is I've got some Bluetooth earbuds I'll use a lot, which are great because they terrific for music and things like that. And I'm like cooking some breakfast, and my phone's in the other room, and I'm just listening to the episode. The entire thing is like grunting and groaning and ooh and ah and go, and then sometimes that's all the dialogue that there is for like 2 or 3 minutes, which I found to be hilarious. I didn't remember it to be that simplistic, but the moral of the story is find whatever works for you in that moment that helps you get through an hour or an afternoon or a crappy weekend, or maybe 10 minutes in the middle of the day as you're working from home and you're like, you know what, I need to get away from this computer for a minute and go play 3 or 4 of your favorite songs. I mean, I've watched highlights of every classic Liverpool game ever. I've watched old interviews with players that I have adored. I've watched videos of fans from the stands and music and all kinds of stuff. I mean, whatever your thing is, go do it. And if you need more than that, like a lot of people do, I would encourage anybody who either themselves or maybe knows someone that isn't able to overcome, these little hurdles that this pandemic is throwing at us, they need more. Reach out. There's people out there that can help. Contact your local, municipality. Call up a fire station and can ask if they've got some support groups. Ask some friends. Reach out to organizations in your area. There are people out there that will help anybody through a situation like this, and that might be a simple phone call. That might be something more substantial, like a Zoom meeting with someone, or maybe it's more family Zoom meetings. Whatever it is that you need, do it. And I've been pretty lucky that I haven't had too many difficult situations, but
good.
That's how I've been getting through it, Joe. So what's been going on at the Dealing household? I know besides the beer and the pizza.
Mine's been more dessert and eat everything in sight. So and I have a doctor's appointment.
Audiobooks. I've been doing a bunch of audiobooks and going for walks. Sorry to interrupt you, but I've listened to more of those like lately than I have in my entire life combined, probably. But anyway, so Tell us about the Dillinghouse. The boys are getting along wonderfully.
Oh
Everything's
gosh,
terrific.
it's been crazy.
The rooms are all clean.
They're so. Oh gosh, no. That's been a constant struggle. But so aside from that, I mean, I've been working ridiculous hours, even more than usual, and it's tough because we're trying to homeschool at the same time, or excuse me, online school, a kindergartner and third grader, and we're both working, full schedules, and I'm even working more than I have previously. I mean, you're talking 9-10 hour days. Which is kind of standard, but I mean, wake up, roll out of bed, go turn on the computer at 7:00 in the morning, and maybe you you're looking at your iWatch and it's telling you to stand, and you're like, yeah, I can't leave this computer right now, and so it's crazy. But other than that, we've been we went on a hike the other week, yesterday on Saturday, and so went down to Clifty Falls in Madison, Indiana. And went for a hike in the morning and had a little picnic, and it was good to do that. Trying to get out where we can.
Did you take the kids, or did you tell me you were going to the grocery store and came back like 5 hours later?
Nah, we took the kids.
Well, that's too bad. Next time.
The dog stayed behind though. But I mean, I've been trying to get out and exercise a little bit more too, kind of as a stress relief. I found a nice little 3-mile hike I can take, and that works out nice. And I've been listening to, so Jim mentioned The Office, and there's a newer podcast out called Office Ladies, and it is
Office Ladies.
It's Angela Kinsey, and I always forget her real name, Jenna Fisher. And it's great, and they bring on people from the show. They just did Casino Night, which
Jenna Fisher, she has an Indiana connection somehow, right?
Well, she was from Missouri.
She's from here.
She's from Missouri. She's from
Well,
St. Louis.
she was born in Fort Wayne, but she grew up in the St. Louis area.
St. Louis, yeah. I knew there was a connection to that, but okay. So
she
it's great.
So it's hilarious, and John Krasinski was on for Casino Night, and that's the one where Jim tells Pam that he loves her and kisses her and all that stuff. But it's a great episode, and I think
he does.
I think they said Steve Carell wrote that episode. I can't remember.
That would make sense, because that's the episode where both Carol and Jan show up.
Oh gosh, it's great. So I had to go back and watch it, but I had started the episode, and I'm like, all right, or the episode of the podcast, and I was like, all right, I got to go finish this, rewatch this. Thank you, Netflix. And it was great, and I'm just laughing the whole time. But hey, I hadn't watched The Sopranos since I watched it the first time. I have never rewatched The Sopranos, probably because I didn't have HBO, and I watched it the first time through the mail-in version of Netflix.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So actually, I had the Blockbuster version because you could trade them in at the Blockbuster, and you could use it to check out. You could exchange that way. So yeah. Anyway, So yeah, Blockbuster, that dates me too. But anyway, so I went back and I've watched everything but the last 2 episodes of The Sopranos. I just can't pull the trigger on the last 2. It was a great show. It was great watching it again. But I haven't, believe it or not, I haven't watched season 3 of Ozark. I haven't watched it yet. But I just started.
I haven't watched 1 or 2.
Oh, Bryan,
it's neither have I, but
Ozark's
I'm gonna
phenomenal
at some point.
But I've also been watching. So I started watching The Last Kingdom, which is a Viking invasion of based off of a series of books I just found out today, and and all that. So, and that's kind of what I've been doing in a nutshell. It's me in a nutshell. There's a Mike Myers joke there, but I butchered.
And an Alice in Chains album or something.
That's Man in a Box. But
no, it's a song. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, Bryan and I have been talking about some Alice in Chains here and there. We've had our few music conversations in the afternoon just to break the monotony of things too. So that's been fun as well.
Only after the workday's done.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. Shoot, what else? No, we'll just say that's it. That's it. Oh, but if you're in Indianapolis and you like to not buy books to read, the great news is that they've opened 4 branches of the Indianapolis Public Library for curbside pickup. So you can do like request a hold, and you request the hold at, like, for instance, the Glendale branch, which is right outside of Broad Ripple and happens to be my local branch. And I think Central and maybe on the south side and someplace else. So yeah, so check that out if you like to borrow books or movies or anything like that, or your kids are going to need to start doing summer reading like mine will. So yeah, so
We've
guys,
got some books heading your way, by the way, Joe. So
oh great, thank you very much.
Summer reading,
great, thank you very much.
They're together, so.
As long as we're not Babysitters Club, because I don't think I can get Alex to read that.
No, I don't. I don't think that's what they are.
All right. So let's just move on to plugs and non-plugs. We've kind of had this rotation. We'll start with Jim tonight. Jim, plugs, non-plugs.
You're gonna make me go first.
I told you we were gonna do this. You knew this.
Well, I want to ask you guys a question before we get to plugs and non-plugs.
All right, let's do this.
So, are you going to pick a Bundesliga team to follow? Because I really didn't ask you that, or we kind of touched on it, but
I'll start. I am probably going to watch more Leipzig because of Timo Werner and Tyler Adams. Plus, Julian Nagelsmann, I really like him as a coach. I think he's probably the new hot coach. That like a Ponch was.
He's not that good looking. I mean,
I'm not going there, Brian. I knew I needed to clarify, and I was in the middle of clarifying.
I mean, he's Jim's hotter than he is.
But if I have to choose a team, I mean the ties between Liverpool and Dortmund. I mean it's a hipster pick, but I really like it.
Really, yes, it is.
I mean it's a hipster pick, but I guess I'm kind of hipster. But I really do like. I really want to watch probably more Leipzig, just for the Timo Werner factor and Tyler Adams. I'll probably watch Schalke if they're on, because I really want Weston McKennie to do well. I mean, I know my TV watching is not gonna do anything about that. But it is what it is. So Brian, what about you, man?
I enjoyed all the, whatever you call those charts, those flow charts, those diagrams that people made that, like, if you like this, then yes or no, and then move to the next question and you arrive at a team. I thought those were very clever. They were fun. I saw different versions of them. I was sending them around myself. And I did have 4 different games on the TV this weekend, and only one that I watched completely, that I talked about, the Cologne and Mainz match. I don't think I'm going to pick a team. That's just my answer right now. I don't know. That could change, of course, but obviously I've been a Liverpool supporter for a long, long, long time. One plays high school ball now and club ball, and indoor in the winter, which hopefully that will start up again eventually, as summer workouts are going to start up soon. I'd love watching him play, and then, of course, Indy 11 season ticket holder. So I think I'm going to keep those 3 areas at a very, very high level for me. And then you throw the U.S. men's national team on there when they play in big tournaments, and I'm all in on that too. So those 4 clubs there, teams there, will probably keep me occupied. But I will have some Bundesliga playing, and I'll watch some matches here and there and check out an American from time to time. But picking a club, probably not. At least not to the level where I'm going to buy a shirt or a hat or a scarf or something like that. But I'll watch it.
What about you, Jim? I mean, Joe loves hops. You got to unmute. Okay.
Yeah, your screen name's great too, Joe. I think with the number of American players that are in the Bundesliga, I feel like, and the fact that it is one of the highest scoring European leagues, makes me want to watch it more. Part of the problem for me is I only have so much time to pay attention to and follow and watch soccer, which is, it's kind of a challenge. So I'm like, do I want to add another team into this mix? But now that I've watched, a couple of games all the way, well, 2 games the first half of, and 1 game all the way through, and I'm interested. I want to know more. I like the league's philosophy. It's a fiscally responsible league. It still manages to be entertaining, and yet it's not really. I shouldn't say it's not the same as some of the other big leagues in Europe. In that, it's for lack of a better term, it's not a mercenary league. But of course, you have Bayern, which is they've won how many Bundesliga titles? I don't even know. They're miles ahead of everybody else. So they're one of those clubs that's just won everything. But I think at the end of this process of the end of this season, I will want to follow a team. I just don't know who's going to be yet. Everybody is saying you. Sorry, I'm just looking at Bryan's screen name now. Now I just lost my train of thought because I'm so distracted by it. I just, we most of the people that we know that follow the Bundesliga are Dortmund fans, but I don't want to just be a Dortmund fan because everybody's like, you need to follow Dortmund. I enjoyed watching them play this weekend, but I'm going to keep an open mind for a while and see where things take me. So,
and why do you want to put yourself through
misery?
Yet. I mean, choose a good team. You can choose.
I know.
Why do you want to put yourself through
like,
misery? I mean,
it's like I'm like Union Berlin. The whole story is really cool, and I like what I see and like what I hear about the team. But as I said, how long are they going to be in the Bundesliga? They're going to probably be one of those yo-yo teams that are up and down and up and down, and
See, that's exactly why I think you should pick it, because like I was saying, and I think you alluded to as well, we can't support 6 teams at the level that we're supporting Liverpool, and I can't add another one to that level. So if Berlin survives, you can watch and enjoy that, and maybe check in on them some next season and watch a few matches. If they don't, then they go down, and you're stuck with Liverpool and Indy 11 and the USA next year, and that works. So.
Well, they do wear all red kits, home kits, so that's a check mark in their favor. I don't know. I'll figure it out.
This Joe thing, pick a good team. Come on, Joe.
Well, think about it this way. Think about it this way.
We both picked Liverpool in the early to mid '90s, and I'm not saying they were bad then, and not by any stretch. They were
mediocre.
Good. Well, they were top half of the table every year, and top couple some years, and then. We're winning European Cups before we ever even met Joe. So, and FA Cups and UEFA Cups, Europa Leagues, whatever you want to call it. So,
but I mean, what I'm saying is, if you're a Everton fan, why are you going to choose a shit team? I mean, in all honesty,
okay,
because
why
are you going to put yourself through that all?
Well,
the
wait
time?
a minute. You already have one shit team.
Exactly.
In Everton, so why
that's
would
the
Everton
point.
Team...
Why are you going to have 2 shit teams? I mean, one team that you're pissed off at, and then you go watch the other team, and you're pissed off at them too because they fucking suck. I mean, it's just like, what's the point?
Yeah, sounds like
yeah.
Sounds like something you tell your therapist about.
I think Raj Bennett. I think Raj Bennett from Men in Blazers chose Schalke to follow. It's just like, why, Raj? Why? He's a masochist, though. I mean, he really is.
Because they wear blue.
I think it's more Weston McKennie and David Wagner than anything else. David Wagner. All right. So let's start wrapping it up.
U.S. men's national team legend.
Yeah, what did he play, like 5 matches or something?
Something like that. I saw him play in Columbus once. He could deliver a pizza to my door right now. I don't know if I would recognize him.
I would, because he has the goatee, a nice trimmed up goatee. I remember from when he was when he was at Huddersfield. So
you said, yeah, we'll see.
All right, Plugs Nom.
I'll order one.
Plugs Nom. You order pizza as long as it's from Union Jack, right, Brian? Plugs Nom. Plugs. Brian, we're starting with you. Jim Asta goes second today.
Well, let's start with a plug for Union Jack. So a lot of our listeners have watched many games there, and Their food truck is out and about. I visited a couple of times, which was really cool. And the staff's working hard there. So well done. You can certainly still get takeout from them. Please order online and not through DoorDash and all these other companies that just kind of screw the restaurants and take all those dollars basically for nothing. Call them, place your order. They will, bring your food out to your car. It's easy, it's fast, it's terrific. And if you're able to continue doing that and order takeout, please support those places that support us as Liverpool supporters as much as you can. So that first plug to them. Another small little minor plug. I don't know whose car is parked on Turn Court, not too far from my house. It has a Liverpool sticker on the back window, but I saw it the other day. Next time I go on a walk and I go past your house, you're getting a IndyReds podcast business card in your mailbox. So I saw a Liverpool sticker on the back window of a car on Turn Court. That's TERN. So, sir, ma'am, if you're listening, hey, how are you?
Is that Lucas Calvert?
Well, he lived in our neighborhood in a house that I can see from my front door for years and years and years, and then they moved. So they did have they had twins, so that ended up with that's 2 more kids when that happened. So they might have moved to another house, but I thought he moved out of the neighborhood. So if that is him, I apologize for not knowing he moved like 3 courts down. But and if it is him, I'll be slightly disappointed because I'm hoping someone completely new that's in pretty close to here that's Liverpool supporter that I didn't know. So yeah, sir, ma'am, your Liverpool sticker on your Honda has been noted by the Indy Reds podcast. So that's coming. But my biggest plug tonight is for all 2020 graduates. I think Joe was alluding to this earlier. Had a very interesting weekend with our daughter who graduated from college, which is, one of those, momentous events in people's lives if you're fortunate enough to accomplish that. And she went to a terrific school, did extremely well. Dean's List the last 2 years, nothing but A's the last 2 semesters. I mean, she's accomplished many things. She's handled this whole mess with grace and just I can't believe how well she's handled all this maturity and just calm and helping out her friends and just extremely proud of her as a dad and just congratulations Emily for finishing school and she finished in 4 years and all this great things and it's not a good thing to be graduating this year or whether it's 8th grade or high school or college or graduate school or going from kindergarten to 1st grade or whatever. You haven't seen your friends in months and neither is she. So just a big plug to all the 2020 graduates, just nationwide, worldwide, and to all the families that helped them accomplish that. Well done to everybody involved. So just had to put that out there. Love you, Emily. So congratulations. So a very quick non-plug is idiots worldwide, including some Liverpool supporters, but mostly rivals, who are talking about when we clinch this league after the league starts up again and we get 2 more wins or whatever it takes or 1 win and 3 draws, I don't care, whatever the math is, that there's somehow going to be several 100,000 Liverpool supporters in the streets of Liverpool going nuts and just giving the virus to everybody. I think that's absurd to suggest that that's automatically going to happen. I've heard Pajak and some others talking about, no, I'm not going to go do that. That's stupid. Anyone that's thinking about doing that, non-plug to them. Anyone that is putting that out there as an automatic, definite, absolutely going to happen, that's just moronic as well. I'd like to think that most Liverpool supporters are smarter than that. And I'm not going to say if, when we clinch this league, and I'm sitting in my house watching it, and not with you two, and 50 to 300 other Liverpool supporters in this city that I adore, that's the way it's going to be, but it's not going to diminish the accomplishment. It's just going to make it slightly less noisy. And that's all it is. And years from now, we'll look back on it and maybe have a laugh about it. But non-plug to all the morons. I think there's going to be, half the city of Liverpool running around just swapping, saliva or whatever and just virus everywhere when they win the league, because that's not how it's going to go down. So now unplug with those idiots.
All right, Jim wants to go last. My plug is I mean, I know they get plugs a lot, but I just can't even imagine the frontline workers. It just applause to them. Applause to the small business owners who've kept things going through this whole pandemic. And the teachers and the parents, the teachers who are doing everything they can to help finish out this school year, and get on to the next one, and all those things, and the parents. Not to applaud myself, but I know how difficult this is. I just appreciate teachers that much more because they do it with 30 kids or whatever, as opposed to my 2. So very nothing but plugs to them, all those people that I mentioned. And non-plug, I just am gonna choose to not non-plug tonight. There's plenty to non-plug, but I just choose not to. So Jim, now it's over to you.
I like that philosophy, Joe. I think for a lot of people, myself included, it's been hard to be positive a lot of the time. So not having an unplug for me is just, and this is not a criticism of you, Brian, because I have plenty that I could non-plug. I could non-plug all the people that I saw walking on the canal walk today, not wearing a mask, but I'm not going to.
Well, you
I'm not going to be.
Did.
I'm not going to be that guy. I just did. I did it in a explicit subtweet, if that makes any sense. Anyway, so to springboard off of your guys' non-plugs, I want to plug the students that I've worked with this year, because they've been remarkably resilient through this whole crisis. They really adjusted well to learning online. I know some of them had taken online classes before, but many had not. And I just started teaching. Believe it or not, our summer session started this past week. So I've already taught 2 classes for my summer session class already. And the students were really well prepared, and they were ready, and made really positive contributions to the way that the class is run so far. So I want to acknowledge them and just express. I know I actually have one student who actually listens to this podcast, so he's going to know that I'm talking about him. But
Cool.
I'm just very thankful for their ability to adapt and be resilient in the face of really difficult times. And then taking off on what you said, Joe, I want to plug I know a lot of people in hospitality business, restaurants, breweries, and a lot of them have been hanging on by the skin of their teeth. Some of them have ended up losing their businesses, but most of them are hanging in there, and they're the people that I think among many other sectors of the economy stand to lose a lot from what's going on right now. So I wanna say, express my love for them, and especially I've been trying. I, like Brian, I've been fortunate enough to be continue working. We're in relatively good shape financially right now, and so I've been trying to do what I can. We actually, Annie and I both been trying to do what we can to support the people that we know in the hospitality industry. So when I can, I get out and try to buy local beer, and same thing with coffee. I unfortunately developed a bit of a coffee habit since this all started. I used to drink.
There's
decaf.
Worse habits than that.
I know. I used to drink decaf mostly, and now it's 2 cups of coffee a day, which is, that's actually not too bad compared. I know to other people who are just basically take a coffee IV every day, and Yeah, Joe. So I've been trying to do what I can to support them, and so I want to just give a shout to them, and yeah, I think that's really all. Oh, I don't know if this is really a plug or non-plug, but I really miss seeing everybody at Indy 11 matches and at Union Jack for Liverpool matches. It's I'm an introvert by nature, but I still need my people time, and it's hard not to see everybody in person and give you guys a hug. And but I know at some point we're going to get there. It just can't get here soon enough, honestly.
Yeah, second to that. All right, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap
Well
it
said,
up.
gentlemen. Well said.
We're going to wrap it up. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Contact information into the.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Bryan's screening. You guys listening to the podcast tonight are not going to have any idea what we're talking about, but we've spent the podcast. We're actually recording this on Zoom, switching up our screen names.
It's good to see each other while we do this. We did that a couple of times with like live pods, and a few times Joe's family locked me in his house. I've been able to see him face to face, but a couple of these names, especially the Emre Can one I had up there, I can't leave it up there because if I join using that screen name on a call in the morning with the HR department, I'll be in big trouble.
Yeah,
even though I work in there
Oh,
and
man,
policy,
we use
etc.
WebEx,
That would be bad.
Oh, we use WebEx, and that's already integrated into my email, so I'm okay. All right, we're going to wrap it up. If you want to get a hold of us, contact info in the podcast details. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, frontline workers. Thank you, small business owners. Thank you, everyone. You'll never walk alone.